Let's rec All right, let me share my screen. Okay, so welcome and good morning. We're recording because I know we're all busy and I appreciate everybody making time to be here and wanting to be here and wanting to participate. This is our Reiki training clinic meeting. This is actually our second meeting. So definitely do take a little bit of time to watch the recording. So just as a refresher again, I am Dr. Luna and I've been practicing Reiki since 2011 and it's one of my favorite modalities and I enjoy teaching it and practicing it on an everyday basis. So for today's topic, I wanted to talk a little bit more about preparing for a session. I wanted to talk about how do you prepare for a session? What do you do when you're preparing for a session? We're going to talk about a little bit of those things. And then I wanted to go through, this is a presentation that we were going through last time that we met, but I wanted to go through a couple, one more slide. We're probably going to go through like one slide at a time. Let's see which one it was. I think, yes, I wanted to talk about the barriers to self-practice. Um, So these are the things that you all said about barriers to self-practice. So these are some of the things. I just don't make it a priority. So making it a priority is going to be a big deal, right? Because if we don't make it a priority, then we're never going to actually take the action to do it. So we need to make it a priority. So part of this Reiki training pilot program is to support us, to support you in making it a priority because we're setting the intention. We're saying, okay, we're going to practice this much time. If it's 30 minutes a day, if it's 15 minutes a day, every single day that you have it on your mind and you're practicing it. If this is a barrier, then we have to change we have to change our mindset to make it a priority and really make it part of our lives. And so this is also part of what makes us embody Reiki. So how do we embody Reiki? This is one of the questions that I was thinking about. And sorry about the noise because I'm on a busy street here, but hopefully you can hear me okay. Um, so we want to embody Reiki. So in order to embody Reiki, we need to practice Reiki on a regular basis. And to practice on a regular basis, we need to make it a priority. So it all kind of circles and spirals around. Somebody else said lack of time and tiredness from the day's work hampers ability to practice on myself. So the thing is that when we start to work with Reiki and we're practicing Reiki, that's kind of one of the points of practicing Reiki is that it energizes you. It gives you energy. It boosts your goals. It's going to bring your mind, body, spirit, and emotions to optimal functioning. So if you're tired, then practicing Reiki is going to be a really good thing for you to do, even if it's just a few minutes, like a few minutes every day to and focus on that and think about um what's the reason why you're tired? Is it really because you've been working? Is it because family obligations? Or is it because you need to exercise a little bit more, or maybe you're needing to change your diet a little bit more? So these are things when we start to think about ourselves as that vehicle for wellness and that vehicle to channel energy, then those are the things that we want to start to think about, because who are we? Who are we embodying? Now, if people are going to come to serve us, who are we? Those are the questions that we need to ask. If I'm tired and I feel like I don't have time, then I need to also shift my mind, shift my perspective, and do some things to change those parts of my life. There's going to be an internal component and there's an external component, right? So the internal component is what we're feeling on the inside, our emotions, what we're thinking about, our thoughts. Even deeper than that, our organs. How are our organs doing? Even deeper than that, how are our cells doing? So these are the things that Reiki can help us with, because Reiki is working on our physical body internally, and it's going to help to bring those things to optimization. So if that's a barrier for you, tiredness, then it's time to really think about what is that about? Did I drink enough water today? Am I hydrated enough? Am I drinking thing, am I drinking too much caffeine? Maybe. And that's why I'm tired. Because when we're drinking a lot of caffeine to get us going in the morning, there's always going to be a hard crash. Am I getting another boost of caffeine in the afternoon to get me through the rest of the day? And then we're going to crash again. So those are things that we want to start to pay attention to as Reiki practitioners, as Reiki masters. It doesn't mean we're perfect, but we're aware of these things and we're aware of making changes. Again, because how are we going to serve others if we're not well ourselves, if we're not really working on ourselves? Another barrier is no guidance or mentor to help me understand. So again, so this is the reason why I'm creating this pilot program, because a lot of people, they get the initiation, they get the attunement, but then that's it. And then there's no more feedback, there's no more, and then another barrier that somebody mentioned in here was that you just don't know people that want to practice Reiki. So then that makes it a little bit more challenging. Um, so hopefully in this group, you're going to get guidance, a little bit more guidance, a little bit more mentorship. And I really, really want for you all to be open to ask me questions, to ask questions in here in the group if anything comes up. Yeah, just stop me if I'm talking and you have a question, just ask me at any time. You can raise your hand on the Zoom or just send me an email and I'll work to answer those questions. Somebody else said I have a monkey mind, which keeps my mind jumping and makes it harder to focus. I also sometimes want to feel the energy, even though I know it's still flowing, and making it a priority. So the monkey mind, we all have that. We all have the monkey mind, and sometimes it's worse than others. It's kind of like one of the goals of meditation practice is to calm that monkey mind. So you don't need to calm the monkey mind to practice Reiki. That's the beauty of Reiki, is that you could have racing thoughts, you could be thinking about other things, and the Reiki is still going to flow as long as you started your session and you're into your Reiki. Let's say you have a random thought, it's okay, it's going to keep flowing. But of course, the more that you can practice the Reiki, the more that you can also focus on your meditation practice, the more that you're going to be able to calm your mind, your monkey mind, and be able to focus easier. And then in terms of feeling the energy, sometimes that just takes time. It takes a little bit of time to feel the flow of energy coming through your hands, or again, just embodying the practice of Reiki. It takes a little bit of time. So there's this element of needing to trust and, have faith and know that it's working. Even if you don't always feel that it's working, it is working. Once you're attuned, it's working. But it's just more about how sensitive are you to the energy that's flowing through you. So are you aware of, because Reiki energy is a subtle energy. So if our senses aren't really keen and sensitive to that, we might not be able to feel it. Or if we're really stressed out and if going through a lot of anxiety, we might not be able to feel it. That doesn't mean that it's not working. So with that part is just being patient, keep practicing and letting it flow, and not to stress too much about the monkey mind, because with Reiki, it's going to flow regardless. Um, and then somebody else said kind of along the same lines, I think sometimes I don't feel the Reiki energy while giving it to myself, and it discourages me. So you have to have patience, you have to have trust, keep going, keep working at it, keep being diligent with your practice and moving through those roadblocks and asking Reiki to help you eliminate those roadblocks. So that's the other thing, is that you start to build a relationship with Reiki. It's like, you can have conversations with Reiki and ask it to help you, invite it to help you. It's like any other spiritual guide. Our spiritual guides, they're always there with us, but if we don't invite them to assist us, they're just going to be hanging back because we have free will. So you have to invite for that assistance to come forward. Same with Reiki. Invite it to come in, invite it to ask you if you're having roadblocks with, oh, somebody came in. You're having roadblocks with feeling the energy of Reiki, ask Reiki, help me to feel Reiki. I really want to feel it. Please help me. I want to connect with it. I want to feel it flowing out of my hands. Help me to do that. So really taking Reiki as that spiritual guide. And then somebody had And in addition to that, I think this is really cool. When this happens, I take a salt bath and send Reiki to my Reiki, and I feel a sense of oneness again with my Reiki. So I think that that was a really cool thing too to think about is like, oh yeah, you can send Reiki to your own Reiki practice. Yes, you can do that. Um, somebody else said not making time for it, honestly. So, it's like it's part of our spiritual practice, it's part of our spiritual growth, it's part of our spiritual development. So, if we want to grow spiritually, if we want to grow emotionally, if you're struggling with something emotionally and we really want to shift that, then we are going to make time for it, right? So, that part, we just have to make that commitment to ourselves and actually take the action to follow through with our commitment to ourselves. I'm not sure what the releasing stress was about, if that was a misunderstanding of the question, but Reiki does help us to release stress. So if you're stressed and that feels like a barrier, then that's more reason to practice Reiki if you're feeling stressed, because Reiki alleviates stress. So it's a good thing to practice Reiki when you're feeling stressed. Um, Not enough quiet time due to a big family. I can understand that. But you don't really need a whole lot of time, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be quiet. Like, I mean, right now it's a little bit noisy where I am. There's some distractions, but I can, even when you go to the bathroom, like you can spend an extra minute in the bathroom to give yourself 1 minute of Reiki, right? Like when you go, for your potty break. If you have a big family, that's always a good place to sneak away, like, I'm on the toilet. Like seriously. And just place your hands on your heart, place your hands somewhere and just breathe and give yourself Reiki for 1 minute. I think you can find ways to work through those barriers. Um, so somebody else says setting aside a good amount of time, meditations, affirmations, increase the amount of Reiki for more complete healing. Licensing requirements such as a massage therapist licensing. We'll talk about that a little bit later, the licensing piece, because that's a little bit more involved conversation and it depends on your county, it depends on the state that you're living in. There's a lot of variables there. But hi Mary. We're setting aside a good amount of time. So again, like it's just if you have to set your intention. You have to think, well, what is my goal? What do I want to achieve? And let that drive you in terms of how much you're going to practice, how often you're going to practice, how you're going to make the time in your life to actually practice Reiki. Because again, like, I mean, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second about how I use Reiki, but I mean, it's just such a strong foundation for us that making the time to practice Reiki it's monumental in terms of the changes that we can make with Reiki, even if it's just a few minutes a day. And there are more things that we can do to support us even when we're busy. Like, I don't know if I've talked with you all. I know I've talked in the Reiki share group about creating altar spaces. Um, Creating a little affirmation for yourself, putting Reiki on that, putting it on your altar space. So that's going to reinforce everything that you're doing. So if you feel like there's not a lot of time to work on yourself, then set up an altar to assist you. Set up a little altar space and invite those energies in to support you, invite the energy of Reiki to support you, and create a little sacred space. And that way, that little charge of energy is continuously supporting you. So I'll pause there. I just want to see if anybody has any thoughts because I'm going to go into like we're going to do a little bit of practice right now in a few minutes. Any thoughts about barriers? Does anybody resonate with this? Is this helpful so far?
I had a question.
Yeah.
So let's say that the barrier is more like mental health related issue, and like um, how do you do it to practice it? Like it's just like like I don't know how to explain it. Like let's say you're on like pills for an infection. Like let's say you have an infection in your body, and you're
Mm-hmm.
on pills for that, and like you ask for Reiki help. Like are you still supposed to take your pills or just do like the Reiki? Like, cause I know a lot of people are like, oh well, I
Well,
don't really know like what happens with something like that when it's like a medical thing compared
yeah.
to that. Like what happens with that?
So for sure, always take your medical doctor's advice and medication. So Reiki is not an alternate to whatever your medical doctor says. It's complementary. It's a complementary. So if you have an infection, you have to take medication, then you're going to take your medication. And what you can do is you can put Reiki on your medication. So before you take your medication in the little container, well, this isn't, but if this is your medication container, then you take it between your hands and you put Reiki on it. And you
Okay.
ask for Reiki to assist your medication in providing you the best, the best care, that the medication works for you, that you have the least amount of side effects, that it works well with your body, right? So that's kind of how I use that. And then you're going to do self Reiki. I mean, if you're having a health issue, you're going to do self Reiki, and you want to receive Reiki as well, because sometimes when we're not feeling well and we have a physical health condition that we've been dealing with for a while, we feel fatigued, we feel tired, we don't feel like we can do Reiki on ourselves sometimes, especially if you're new to Reiki, it might be a little bit more difficult. So that's where the practicing with another person is going to be helpful, because you're going to receive that Reiki that's going to support you, that's going to boost your energy, it's going to boost the functionality of your organs, of your blood system, of your cells, of all of those things. So um, yeah, so anything that's going on with your medical, always follow your medical doctor's advice, and add the Reiki on top of that. Because Reiki is going to make everything just work a lot better, a lot smoother, a lot faster. Reiki helps the body to heal more quickly. So Reiki is going to boost all of that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
And when you're doing your self practice, and when you're doing practice with others too, one of the things to remember is to be comfortable. So, however you're sitting, if you need a cushion, if you need something on your back, if you need to, lay on the floor, however you need to do it, just make yourself comfortable. Because if you're not comfortable, then that kind of blocks the flow of the Reiki energy. So find a way to be comfortable, adjust yourself. It's okay to move. It's okay to get up and get a pillow so that you can be comfortable. If you need a blanket, or if the person that you're working on is cold, those kinds of things, like make it comfortable. Kind of think about if you've ever had gone to a massage therapist, right? Like, it's the ambience makes a big difference. If they have aromatherapy, they have music in the background, they have, extra blankets and pillows, all of that to make it comfortable so that you can relax. That's the idea. Get into the most relaxed state that you can, and then that's when your body can really heal itself. It's during parasympathetic nervous system arousal that your body can really relax, calm down, and then the Reiki helps you even further deepen that relaxation so that your body can say, okay, now I can do the things that I need to do to heal myself. Because the body is so intelligent that it can heal itself. But when we have a lot of environmental factors, we have a lot of toxins in our body, we're going to need help. We're going to need support so that we can function optimally. So that was a good question. Okay, let me see. So these are the things that I wanted to talk about for today. So preparing for a session. So we've talked a little bit about this, clearing a space. So to prepare for a session, we want to clear the space. We want to clear ourselves. Sorry about the traffic. I'm right now currently living on a very busy street, so it's going to be a little loud. Um, we want to clear space. We want to clear self. And then after we do those two things, then we also want to connect with the energy of Reiki, right? How do we connect with the energy of Reiki? How do you activate the flow of Reiki in your hands, right? How do we do it? So one way that I do it, and I know Mary, you have ways that you do it, but one of my favorite ways is to practice the precepts. Right. So the Reiki precepts, it's the foundation principles for our Reiki practice is just for today. I let go of anger. Just for today, I let go of worry. I'm compassionate. I respect my this is my translation of it, just simplified. I respect my teachers and elders, and I practice this daily. So we bring our hands to Gasho or Anjali Mudra, prayer hands, and we meditate with this. Even if it's just again just 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I like using this one video with the Gokai meditation, and I'll just listen to that for 5 minutes. And that's what helps to activate the flow of Reiki in my hands. Um, is there anything anybody wants to add to that preparing for a session? Is there something else that I'm missing here?
So that's it. So very similar. So I just do, like sit and get comfortable and then go into gasho and then imagine that Reiki, I'm connecting up to universal life source through my crown chakra and into, the whole column in my hands. And then I, imagine that the Reiki is starting to flow through my palms in my hands. And my hands are centering myself, both sides of my body coming together and being centered. And that Reiki is flowing in between them. That's how I start.
Yeah. So,
So very, right, very,
what's that?
very similar. And I'll say the precepts. Yeah.
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 I don't say the precepts every single time, but I think it's important for us to talk about it here as we're learning. And, I think it's one of the things that Dr. Usui left us that is really simple. It's really easy. It's a mantra that we can practice throughout the day. It's one that I just really started to work with a lot over probably, I don't know, not when I first started practicing Reiki. I didn't really think about it so much, but now I really emphasize it when I teach my classes because it's so powerful. It's so helpful to think about being present. So, just for today is being present, right? How can we be present every single moment? The more that we're present right now, then we can release worry because worrying is when we think about the past and we think about the future, right? So when we're worrying about what happened yesterday or what I didn't do, like I was worried about because I moved, I don't know where any of my jewelry is. I packed it and I have no idea where it is. And I'd always have my jewelry. So it's like my like I part of my identity and my comfort is to wear my jewelry and I don't know where it is. So I'm like, where's my jewelry? But and then I have to come back to myself and remind myself, that it's okay and it's all packed away and it's okay. So so it's like it's a constant practice. It's a really good reminder. I release worry. How often we need to remind ourselves to let go of worry and to be present, because when we're thinking about the past, or if I'm thinking about the future, what am I going to do tomorrow, what's going to happen 2 days from now, I'm not living in the present moment, and then I'm creating stress for myself. And if I'm creating stress for myself, I'm creating dis-ease, right? I'm creating diseases in my body. That's one of the major culprits of health issues is stress. So that's why I love Reiki so much, because it helps us deal with that. It helps us deal with daily life stressors that we all have. So like stress is not going to go away. We're always going to have stressors, but we can have tools that are going to help us to deal with the stressors more effectively so that they're not negatively impacting our body, right? So, and then anger, same thing. Anger is going to increase our risk for heart attack and cardiovascular disease and other health issues like ulcers, stomach ulcers. What other health issues with anger? Just high blood pressure, even potentially, I mean, diet has a lot to do with diabetes, but even, a lot of anger can affect our blood sugar. So we want to let go of these things. These are like the main culprits. So some of the main culprits for disease and for unhealthiness and for just living a dis or uncomfortable life. So then those are the basic preset. So just for today is every moment I have an opportunity. And even if I make a mistake, If I make a mistake and I get angry, or if I still worry about things, then the next precept gives us guidance on that. Then I'm compassionate with myself, right? I'm compassionate with myself and with others. I forgive myself for worrying. I forgive myself for getting upset if the dog, went to the bathroom inside the house instead of outside the which happens because I have a puppy and we still have accidents. So I'm compassionate with myself and with others. And so if I get angry or if I worry, then I'm going to give myself that space to be able to make mistakes. And because I'm human, so I'm still going to have those emotions, but hopefully I can get myself out of those much more quickly. I can catch myself. I'm not just exploding on everybody all the time, right? Or I'm not um calling, making sure that my child is okay every 3 seconds, right? We have to kind of let go of the worry. And then I love this part, respecting my teachers, respecting my elders. I think just respect in general. We're going to respect others. We're going to respect our clients. We're going to respect our students. We're going to respect the people that we're working with. Um, I highly value, this component too. When I teach the classes, I always like to talk about Dr. Usui and Dr. Hayashi and Mrs. Takata, to hold reverence for the people that have been carrying this torch of Reiki for us so that we have it here today. And then just in general and all my other modalities that I work with, it is a lot about respecting our elders, respecting our teachers, respecting Mother Earth, respecting nature. So these are just, really solid values that we can fall back on. And then of course practicing this on a daily basis. So those are the precepts I wanted to go over. Continue with preparing for a session. Well, we're going to do a little practice in a second. We're going to clear each other's spaces right now. But to prepare for a session, what do you need to know about someone before you start a session? Just things for you to think about. What do you need to know? Do you need to know anything about someone before you start a session? Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we don't have information about. Sometimes if we can ask questions, it's helpful. Like, have you ever had an energy session or a Reiki session before? That might be helpful to know because then you know how much you're going to explain to the person, right? Do you have any injuries or painful areas that I should know about? So a lot of that part is for in-person sessions, but it might be good to know because if I'm using a massage table or a Reiki table and asking somebody to lay down flat, like I've had a lot of people that can't lay down flat on their back, right? So then it's good to know, like, well, if you can't lay down flat on your back, then why am I going to put you flat on your back on the table? Right. I might not want to do that. I might want to have you sit up on a chair or sit up on the couch and I stand behind you or I put pillows to make the person comfortable. Were you going to say something, Mary? Look
Oh,
like
I was gonna say, I use the chair. Most of my sessions are in a chair. So, yeah,
Mhm.
'cause yeah, it
Yeah. So,
works. And, get so you can walk around them. So,
mhm.
but I've also done the couch thing too.
Yeah, I improvise. It just depends on where I'm at and what's going on. And, if I don't have a chair available, and sometimes people can't even sit in a chair. So, like, I had to work on an elder one time and she was already sitting on a recliner couch. And I just said, just stay there and I'll just work around it. I'll just work around because I wasn't going to make an 85-year-old, woman on oxygen to move around. So it's like, kind of thinking about where you're at, what the person is, what might be helpful. I What you're thinking about is how do I make the person comfortable and how do I make myself comfortable so that I can have Reiki flowing through me. Another question that you want to ask is what is the area of focus? Or what is the area of concern? Or what is the goal of the session? What do you want to accomplish? How do you know if you accomplished it? Right? What's the area of focus? What's the area of concern? Or sometimes on the Reiki share, we ask, like, what's your intention or what are you working on right now? But when we're doing the Reiki share, we only have a few minutes. So when you start working with each other as we go through this pilot program, you're going to have a chance to do 30-minute sessions, and we're going to work up to doing a 1 hour session where you're going to give for 1 hour. And so what are you going to be focusing on for that 1 hour?
So when you do the like longer than 30 minutes sessions, like on yourself, when you're doing your self one, can you focus on multiple things, or is it just like one thing and then that's it?
No, you can focus on multiple. If there's multiple things, then you're going to focus on multiple things. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. I mean, you might not be able to address all of those things. It depends. Like, if it's, for example, if I'm wanting to quit coffee and I've been drinking coffee every single day for 10 years, and I want to eat better just in general, and I want to like exercise more, and I'm working on all those three things, it might not happen in one session, right? It might be like over time that those things I'll start to see changes as I work on that every single day with my Reiki. So Reiki is going to help boost all of our goals. And yes, we can work on multiple things at the same time. And that's where it's helpful to set up an altar space and put your intentions on that altar space and charge up the altar space on a regular basis so that you can keep working. That's another way to do the self Reiki. That when you set up your altar, you set up your intentions, you write it on a piece of paper, you put that paper on your altar, and then you charge your altar. And so then that gives you like an extra boost. And I do that. We'll talk about that more, but I'll do that with crystals, and then that charges me even more because the crystals will start going to work on whatever issue it is that I'm working on.
I
Uh,
have a question.
mhm.
So I guess this is just me thinking like along the lines with Liliana. It's more like for certain intentions, like how do you know how many sessions you would do on a person? I know this is we're all starting off with practice, but with time, like, I'm just thinking for people that like work on a person multiple times, how do you know how many sessions you're supposed to give a person to try to help them heal something? Am I
Mhm.
making sense? I don't know if I'm
Yeah,
making
no,
sense, but
you're totally making sense. Well, we don't always know, so I always ask. So I use now we're going a little bit further, but I use
okay.
a pendulum, or you can
Okay.
I use
Yes, I
pendulum.
could see it.
I'll ask my pendulum, how many sessions do we need for this issue?
Mm,
All right. So do we need 10 sessions, 5 sessions? And you might need, and it also depends on your time, the person's time, money
mm-hmm,
change, like what you're going to exchange. Because let's say that you need 10 sessions and you're charging $100 a session, that's $1,000, right? So can the person do that? Or are you
mm-hmm,
going to just exchange without charging? Then 10 sessions is okay, right?
mm-hmm,
So I ask my pendulum. I will ask Reiki to guide me. Um, I'm pretty intuitive, so sometimes when you ask Reiki, you'll hear a number, or
mm,
you can sometimes another thing that you can do is write on a piece of paper, like a scale, like write like a line 0 to 10, or it'll be 1 to 10, right? 1 session or 10 sessions, and make like a little kind of like a timeline, and then kind of see where you land, right?
mm-hmm,
Just
mm-hmm.
different ways to kind of intuit how many sessions it might be. Mary,
Okay.
do you have any other thoughts on that?
That's yeah. Mostly, I kind of hear. I'm going to say I ask Reiki, and there's sometimes a number comes by, or I might feel like there's 5 layers or something. That's the way I guess I'm going to describe it. And it's like five
Mm-hmm,
layers, but then you have to take into account the practical thing is like how much time does this person have, or
mm-hmm,
how much money, right? You hate to put that part in there, but it's also about their time and a commitment on their part to keep coming back. So
mm-hmm,
then, I'll ask Reiki to help prioritize. And I also will, ask Reiki in a session. I ask Reiki to continue working with this person until, hopefully this layer or this thing is, further cleared, so that healing's going on in between sessions too, which if the person's receptive. So the other component is that the person has to be receptive and working with the Reiki. So you could do it 10 times, and if they're not receiving it, it's, yeah. If they're not worry and releasing stress, it's, its effects are not going to be as strong.
Of course. Okay. And what if the how often, like, I know that we, for like self Reiki, we're able to do it like on a daily basis, but with a patient or a client per se, like, would you do it like once a week, or you do it multiple times a week? Or that also needs to be sort of questioned and hopefully get an answer from Reiki?
Well, you can, but it's also like Mary was saying, the practical part of it, like how much time does the person have? How much time do you have? So you might only have time to give them once a week session for a month. Okay, we're going to work together for a month. We're going to meet every week for a month. Or you know what? You're like, you're really struggling. I'm going to make time to see you 3 times a week because you're in pain and I'm trying to help you with pain, and they're in agreement with that, and you have the time. Because we all have our schedules, right? So you have the time,
I was just wondering more on the concept of like, because I know that the energy Reiki could still continue working for several days, and like, would it be, I guess that was probably why I was asking. Sorry, I didn't make it clear, but I guess it was more because I know it can continue, like Mary was saying, I could still continue working, and would you guys space it out like almost like once a week kind of thing? So
no,
okay, but it makes sense.
no, because I mean, it won't be as strong. It's gonna trickle away. So if it's something where it's like an acute condition, or even if it's a chronic condition, you really want to nail it in, then you want to keep sending and send it. So yes, it'll keep working, but it's gonna dissipate across time and space.
Okay.
So that's where you also have your altar. So you have an altar like what's her name? Debbie from our Reiki show. She has her Reiki fishbowl. So she has her fishbowl, and so she just puts names in there, and then she gives Reiki to the whole bowl. And so then you can keep sending to somebody, even if you're not doing like a one-on-one session with them and you really want to support them, then put that on your altar, or put it on your bowl, or put in however way you're going to do it, so you can keep sending. So then if you have your altar space and you have, let's say you have 10 people that you're sending to, then you're going to go to your altar space, you're going to send Reiki on your altar space every day for 10 minutes, and all those people are going to get a little bit of Reiki from you every single day.
Okay.
So that's another way. But yeah, I mean, it will keep sending, but if you're not like actively sending, it's not going to be as strong. So you do want to have an actual session where you're there and you're present and you're sending.
Okay.
So I typically don't do anything sooner than a week if I'm doing in-persons. I don't, but I mean, I don't do that many in-persons right, right now with COVID, you're doing Zoom stuff or remote. But if there's like an event happening, like if somebody's having surgery or a series of surgeries or something, then, I would do it like at each kind of event. I would look at event too.
Dave, I wasn't sure if you wanted to chime in. I kind of saw you pop in, and you want to chime in and say something?
I was just going to say, the other person has to be, accept and want to receive it. Because like I was doing it when I would go to bed, I would do it on my wife, right? And later on, she's like, tells somebody, "Oh, I don't know, I don't believe in Reiki." And I'm like, "Well, okay." So then I'm, just self Reiki instead of, if she's not open to it, then, that's what the block is. So, yeah.
I have a question. When you're doing it, when you're doing the self-Reiki, what happens if like your spouse isn't around with you? Like, is that like should you just practice it like alone, or like, or can like let's say somebody's sleeping in the room or they're present, but they're on their phone or something, like they're not. I guess they're not paying attention to what you're doing. Can you still do it, or do you advise against that? Like, what happens with that?
You can do it. Yeah, you can still do
Okay.
it. It's not gonna affect anything. That-
Okay.
That's my experience.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my wasn't open, still isn't too open. It's like, and sometimes it's hard with the people who are nearest to you, right? So, but so I do it over and around our bed every night and ask for healing for the both of us, right? Every night, and then we do sessions too. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a question when you were talking earlier about the pendulum. How does that work? Like, like I know that it like you move it, but how do you like how do you get a response? I guess like how do you know what the response is?
So you tell your crystal if you have a pendulum or if you get one, or you can make one out of a pine cone, really.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to buy one, but you just tell it. So this one is yes. My yes is counterclockwise and my no is clockwise. So you tell your crystals what you want them. You're gonna tell it yes, no. It's
So,
yes or no, and you're gonna ask yes or no questions.
so you're gonna decide if it's like a yes is counterclockwise or no. Like you could decide which one. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be
Yeah,
specific. Okay.
you decide and you tell your crystal. Yes is counterclockwise, or yes could be left to right, horizontal, or yes could be vertical, whatever you want it to be, whatever makes sense to you. And then then the more that you connect with it, the more you have to be really, it takes a little practice because you have to be neutral when you ask the questions. So you can't already have the answer in your mind. If you have already the answer in your mind, or if you think that you know what the answer is, the pendulum, sorry, big car passing by. The pendulum's gonna kind of go with your bias. So you have to really practice. It's kind of like a muscle test if you ever done muscle testing, but you have to be neutral and then ask the question. Sometimes you have to ask it several different ways before you get the answer.
Or you
Oh.
can ask it to show you a yes or show you a
Or
no.
I don't do that, Dave, because when we have our crystals and we're working with them, we actually tell our crystals how we want them to work with us.
Oh, okay.
So instead of the crystal telling us how, we're actually in command. Like I'm the master of my energy and I'm the master of my crystals. So I tell my crystals what I want them to do. Does that make
That's what
sense?
yeah, I'm not very good with the pendulum. So I'll try that. Thank you.
Yeah. It takes a little practice. Maybe I'll do another class on this. But yeah.
But I also understand you could make like you had the timeline of 0 to 10. You could do that in an arc,
Yeah.
and then ask your crystal to show you what number, and it could swing out to which number on the arc.
Yep. You could do it that way too. Yep. I do it that way too. Sometimes I'll write yes, no on a piece of paper and I'll have the crystal show me which. So for some things, I'll actually write yes or no and then ask the question, and then the crystal will point to yes or it'll point to no. So that's another one. But yeah, well, I'll do another class on that if there's more interest in them.
Yeah, I would love that.
Okay. Okay. So,
I would too.
okay. So, is there anything else that you think that you need to know about someone before you start a session, or you think those few things are enough? It's kind of like basic kind of stuff. I'll probably have a little bit more details for you once I send out a little feedback form that you guys are going to fill out with each other. Because you're all going to interview each other. You're going to get to practice with each other, these kinds of things. So you get a little familiar with that process.
I had a question about preparing for a session. Because I know that you don't necessarily have to touch somebody, but is that important to ask them, like, can I touch you, kind of thing, or not? Because
Yes.
I know some people don't like to be. I don't like to be touched
Yeah.
by other people, but only because not because I dislike it, but because like my skin's very sensitive, and some people like their touch is really rough, and
Mm.
like they don't know how to touch me, and they bruise me, and it's like that's why I don't like just anybody to touch me. Like they
Yeah,
have to ask for my permission. They have to say,
of
oh, they're like, how
course,
don't you like to
always.
be touched? I'm like, it's just some people have like heavy hands or like I don't know, like it's kind of weird. And it's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have to be sensitive and aware of that. Yes. And usually when I would teach my classes in person, we would talk more about that. But I haven't really spent too much time on that because like it's hard to train on that virtually.
Oh, okay.
But yes, if you're gonna work on somebody face to face, you want to ask permission. Is it okay if I put my hands on you? And this kind of leads to the next point that I wanted to talk about is how do you explain the session? What is it going to be like, right? So what is Reiki? That's one thing that you want to have on the tip of your tongue. Somebody asks you what is that? What is Reiki? What are you doing to me? What are you going to do to me? Well, I'm going to put my hands on you. Is it okay if I put my hands on you? It's going to be a light touch, just over you don't have to take your clothes off. It's just over the clothes. And if somebody is too delicate, like I've worked with people that have cancer, and they're very sensitive to touch as well. So I just hover just a couple inches above their body. So I don't have to touch them, but my hands are just above their skin, and that works just as well. So you definitely want to ask permission. Is it okay if I put my hands on you? And let them know where you're going to place your hands. I'm going to place my hands over your eyes. I'm going to place my hands the side of your head, the back of your head, over your chest, heart area. And then if you're going to do a more complete session where you do the organs and you're going to go down the torso, you're going to let them know, I'm going to place my hands on your belly, let them know what you're going to do. I'm going to place my hands on different parts of your body and I'll move around your body. Is there any area where you're not comfortable with me touching? Let me know. And you want to let them know, is this okay? Right? Ask, like, once you're laying hands on somebody, is this okay? Is this feel comfortable? I'm very, very conscious of my touch and how much weight I'm putting on the person if I'm doing in person, because you can kind of, if you're doing a long session, like 1 hour session, and you have your hands over somebody's eyes and then you start to get really relaxed and the person starts to get really relaxed and then you start to slowly kind of lean on the person and use them to support you. You don't want that to happen. Because you want to be alert, you want to be awake, you want to be aware of your own body weight and hold your own body weight. We're just barely touching. We're not really it's not massage. You're not going into tissues or anything like that. It's just a gentle laying of the hands. And if it's too much for the person, they're too sensitive, just bring your hands up just above their skin.
I have a question. So why would, as a, I guess, were we the practitioners, I guess, feel relaxed? I know it's normal, but why would someone be more relaxed? Like if we were to be doing a session, like is it meant to happen that way? I guess my question is like, would we start feeling really relaxed as well?
Yeah,
And how to stay conscious without losing unconsciousness.
yes, we start to get relaxed because when we're giving Reiki, we're receiving Reiki.
Yes.
So how I stay conscious, and Mary can share too, I just stay with my breath. I practice the precepts. I remember what I'm doing. I'm continuously remembering what I'm doing. And I haven't practiced
Mhm,
for a while, so it's not hard for me to do it now, but
mhm,
staying with my breath. I stay with my breath. I keep my breath. I have a timer. I set up my timer because I'm gonna be moving my hands every 3 minutes, right?
mhm.
Set my timer for 3 minutes and then I listen for the beep and then I move to the next spot, into the next spot, into the next spot.
Okay.
How do you stay present, Mary?
Oh, so yeah, I use the music with the beep, and that helps a lot. And then I, I'm a lot of times I'm trying to continuously scan and say, how are the chakras looking? Or I try to like kind of feel like, okay, is this space? How does the person look? And I might just keep looking down the chakras and see if there's any change from the last time or something. And the other thing I do is I will chant. I will, some different things depending on the person. Like I just might say Om over and over again or something like that. And some of the different Reiki. There's a few Reiki chants. So I'll just do a chant. Occasionally I'll count to 1 to 10. If I'm having a really hard time, I'll count my breaths, and I'll just count my breaths and pay attention. Count 1, count 2, and then I start again. Get to 10, I start again. So it's if I'm having a really hard time.
I've only done a couple of in person, and people fall asleep when I do it. I mean, it's like, that's what it's meant to do then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm always like, yes, you fell asleep. Yes. I take it as on, yeah, I did a good job.
Yeah.
When I do
And
self Reiki, my hands get really heavy, and I just can't keep them above myself. You know what I mean? And then I just end up putting them on my stomach. And
Why does that happen? Where like your hands get heavy, like a part of your body gets heavy when you're doing it. Like, do you know why that happens? Because it happens to me too, and I'm like, I wonder why that happens.
yeah, I don't know.
I think it has to do with just the magnetism, because it's like it's a magnetic force field. There's a you can feel it. I mean, you could feel it even if you put your hands next to each other right now. You can feel a little bit of a magnetism, right? So like as the magnet starts to attract, it gets heavy, right? It's like it's pulling, it's drawing in. So I think that has to do with the magnetism and the pulling and drawing of the energy coming into your body through your hands.
you know
Makes
what
sense.
really happens to me is my feet get really hot, and I feel like they're like super hot. And for most of the time, I'm like good, and I'm like, okay, I know it's there, and like I feel it. But sometimes it gets like really hot, where it's like, I don't want to say uncomfortable, but it like distracts me because I feel like really hot. It's like a lot of heat.
Yeah. Mary's
Mine's
raising.
really hot too. So
Yeah.
I think about I generally try to think about grounding and sending that energy to Mother Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, you can
Huh.
visualize your because you have chakras all over your body. So you have chakras
Mm-hmm.
at the bottom of your feet and top of your feet. It's like one, it opens up. So you can visualize those chakras opening and just let that energy, that it's kind of like residual energy, maybe let it just flow out of your feet, like Mary was saying, into the earth. You could even
Okay.
imagine, I like to imagine roots going down from the
Mm-hmm.
bottom of my feet, connected down to Mother Earth, and then
Mm-hmm.
just let that energy flow and offer it as a gift to Mother Earth and blessing it.
Okay.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
have a question regarding not necessarily in person, but more for the practices that we're going to be doing like online, I guess.
Mhm.
Um so what do people most do? Because I've heard that we could get like a pillow and also sort of use it as a sort of a guide on where we're placing, or you could use like a doll in a sense. Is that something you would encourage, or how would you guys do it? Is it just placing your hands like up on the air kind of and sending it? Like, I don't know what would be. I know
Well,
there's different ones, but what would be your recommendation?
Well, during this training, you're going to practice all of them. You're going to do all of
Okay.
the different ways. So you're going to get to see what you like best, what works best. It just depends on the situation. So during the training, I'm going to say, this session you're going to use a doll. This session
Okay.
you're going to use a photo. This session you're going
Okay.
to use a name on a piece of paper. So this
Uh,
session you're going to
okay.
try it just with nothing. You're just going to put your hands in the direction. So you're going to try it all those different ways.
I see. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Great.
all the ways work. It just depends on, I mean, I'm always intuitive. So sometimes I'll use a piece of paper. Sometimes I'll use it just depends on the situation.
Hmm.
How do you go, Mary?
Yeah, I do. I kind of when I'm setting up the session, I kind of ask like, what is it? And I'm like, oh, this one's a doll, okay, or or this one, is just a visualizing them, or this is, I'll do a crystal in their name kind of thing. So yeah, or sometimes I just visualize them in front of me. I do that a lot where they're just like right there in front of me, and I see their energy body, and move my hands around their energy body.
Yeah. But for the practice and for the training, I am going to invite you to do it all the different ways because that's the purpose, so that you'll be able to answer that question for yourself and decide which is the way that you're going to do it. And we're going to practice with each other, so it's a great time to give ourselves space to ask questions and to make mistakes and to be compassionate with ourselves and just learn. Have fun with
Yeah.
it, really, just having fun with it and enjoying it.
Yeah.
And when I say, I just do whatever I have the intuition, I don't have any reason why I'm doing one or the other. So if you ask me why am I doing this versus that, I don't know.
It's just intuitive.
Yeah.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
And then what if, I guess the question would be, have you guys ever encountered, I know it's like Dave and everyone was saying like the other person would need to be open to the session, but have you guys ever had like someone in the middle of the session or that something happens and they're like, no, I'm not okay with this? Like, I guess,
Not usually in
like,
the middle, not in the middle,
or
maybe in the
or
beginning.
like before, like maybe like, I thought I was okay, but I'm really not. What do you guys do in that? Of course, we would never force or, put someone in a spot where we kind of force them to get it done. But is that something possible that could happen, I guess, energetically, if they thought they were open, but they're not, or in the middle of the session, they feel sensations and they're like, well, this is kind of not something that I'm okay with.
For me, generally, it's usually at the beginning of a session that they're not as comfortable. Like, I mean, once somebody agreed to a session and you've talked about it and they said yes, they want the session, that's pretty much the open door. Now, once I start the
Okay.
session, and let's say I get like a little bit of a roadblock or like a little bit of a tension, at this point they already agreed to it, so I don't say, oh, I'm going to stop the session because I'm feeling this energy.
Yeah.
No, I just work with that. I work with the symbols. I keep asking for Reiki to go to the places where they need. So we work through that, and then usually that little barrier or block, or because sometimes we get a little like defensive, right? Because it feels so vulnerable, and then our defenses go, oh no, like hold on, I'm not ready
Yeah.
for this.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
with the Reiki, keep sending the Reiki, and usually it lifts and they start to slow down, they start to relax. When I do in person, if I notice that somebody's a little bit tight or tense, I just have them breathe, take a few deep breaths and start to slow down your
Okay.
breath. And that usually helps them to calm down and relax. But I haven't had that usually happen like in the middle of the session, not really. Once I'm already in the session, I'm in the session. It's more in the beginning. That's something that I've had where they're like, oh, wait, how about you, Mary?
I've mostly had people like just start crying, which the first few times like really startled me and said, do I need to stop? And they're like, no, no, keep going because it's just what I needed. So that happens the most. So that's the most. And then they will talk at the end and they're going, no, that's exactly, like a dam burst. And I needed to do that crying. So I'm going to say, so my spouse, one of the issues when I'm giving to them is they say their knees start to feel like jelly and all electrical and stuff. And then they ask me to stop. So I'm like, okay. So, it's like, so I just kind of like finish this session with love, an intention of love. I've only had one time that someone, like said something traumatic was happening with them and they needed to stop. That was only one time and they were okay. We just kind of ended the session with love, just kind of said, okay, but fine, we're just gonna seal this up with love, finish it off with love. So
I was doing it on my wife once, and she saw our friend's mom's face, and she like kind of freaked out because it was like, "What was that?" Okay, no, stop, And she like And then so she just stopped. And maybe that's when, I don't know if she freaked out, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I know that people could at that point, it's like either feel sensations or even get images of like past lives, right? Or something might come up, and I guess along those lines, whether
Yeah.
people might like all of a sudden think like, oh no, this is, you know, because not everybody's open to. I mean, I know it's an open door already, but when they start seeing, like Dave mentioned, images or certain sensations, could it be like they just not okay with? So that's why I wanted to hear you guys' feedback.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's what happened in my session is they said somebody came to them and it freaked them out. And so it's like, okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna stop here.
Yeah.
It's something they didn't want to deal with, is my feeling. Yeah.
Mhm.
Does that happen a lot where like things like that happen, like where they'll see like an image of somebody that passed or like something from a previous life? Like, is that something like how does that happen? Is it because you don't clear the space, or like is that normal to happen, or what does it mean with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, there's spirits all around us. They're
Mhm.
everywhere. And so Reiki opens up that altered, like an altered sense of consciousness, an altered state of
Mhm.
consciousness. It opens up um this portal between, or like the veil between us and the spirit realm. So it,
Mhm.
because of that open channel, it makes it so that it's easier for us to see things that we may not be able to see on a regular basis. But those things are always there. It's not that it's
Mhm.
not there, it's just that the Reiki allowed us a little window of space to be able to see those things. What I was gonna say is it also, it's like it, the Reiki or the healing or our work, how we work, it's we take people as far as we can go too. So if you have also
Mhm.
some fear around, somebody seeing something scary or something like that, and you're not ready to hold somebody up through that, that could also be a potential barrier, because I rarely have those kinds of experiences with people,
Mhm.
but I'm ready for it. I'm not, I know you have to kind of be ready to talk to people through those kinds of things. If they see something or
Mhm.
if they start crying, to be like, it's okay, just let it go. This is part of what's going to happen. That's why the self
Mhm.
practice is really important. You do your self practice so that you know what it feels like. And then you get Reiki from others so that you know what it feels like, and you can explain, like, oh, this might happen. You might feel emotional,
Mhm.
you might see things that you don't normally see, and it's okay. Then you can talk people through those experiences.
Mhm.
But if you're not sure, and then you react scared, like, oh my God, I don't know what that was, then they're gonna be scared. And
Yeah.
so it's like, so the more experiences you have and you get the feedback, the more open and the more able you're gonna be able to support people going through that too. But I
Mhm.
mean, it's just those things are there. It's just that Reiki opens up the window for us to see those things.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
Ready for people to cry. That's normal.
Cry, fall asleep. Some
Yeah.
people, if there's a lot of physical trauma in the body, from like a history of abuse, child abuse, or even domestic violence stuff, or even accidents, car accidents, things like that, the body can start jerking around as well. So that could be
Mhm.
scary if you're like, oh my God, the arm is just, it's just flying around.
Mhm.
What do I do? It's okay. It's
It's
just
just the releasing of the energy, right? That's happening. Yeah.
releasing of trauma, because trauma is stored in our body. Our
Mhm.
bodies store everything that we've been through in this lifetime and even in other lifetimes. So sometimes we're shaking other things out from our body too.
Mhm.
Do you want to say something, Dave?
Second time I had Reiki done to me, the woman that did it was amazing. Uh, I became the universe, and that's what set all of this in motion, and it was unbelievable. And when she like went to my when I started going up, when she went to the next point, I started coming down because I felt like I was gonna pop. I took a deep breath, and I could hear my hair like coming back down. It was like, wow, it was mind blowing. And that's what it was. That's what did it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got taken up into outer space, like, wow.
Yes. It was incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So, explaining the session, kind of just going off on my list here. What is Reiki? So thinking for yourself, what is Reiki? Reiki is universal life force consciousness, but you have life force consciousness. But you have to think about the persons that you're working with and what are the words that are going to make sense to them, right? They might not know what is universal life force consciousness. What does that mean? I don't know. So you have to know your people and find different ways to describe it. It's um like Mrs. Takata, she called it prana, so breath. She called it mana. She called it energy. She called it godliness. I mean, she had like 10 different names for it. But, start to think about how do you explain Reiki to another person, right? What is Reiki to you? How do you explain it? It's a subtle form of energy. Energy is everywhere. We're made of energy. Everything is made of energy. Energy is all around us. We're connecting with this kind of high vibrational source of energy and we're bringing it down through our body. It's also love, it's a form of love, expression of love, laying of the hands. Those are some ways that I explain Reiki. And we'll keep talking about that, and you're gonna practice what is Reiki, how do you explain it. You're gonna practice doing that with each other. And we talked a little bit about how long is the session, like I said, like when you practice as a receiver and as a practitioner, you want to be able to give somebody a little bit of insight. What is it going to feel like? What's going to happen? Also, like even what happens after a session, like like for Dave, like it opened him up, right? It just like really opens up the doors to your spirituality, to this whole other world that exists. For some people, that could be a major, major, major transformation and transition. So, um, we want to kind of be able to explain a little bit of that. Yeah, it's a doorway opening. It's, it can potentially be a life-changing experience. So what's going to happen? These are things that you want to be able to explain. What's going to happen in the session? Is it a hands-on session? Is it a remote session? What's the difference between hands-on and remote? How long is the session going to be? Is it 10 minutes, 15, 30 minutes, an hour? Do I lay down? Do I need to lay down for every session? Do I need a quiet time to receive a Reiki session? As I go through the different ways that you can give each other treatments, you're going to try all the different ways. Like you can have the person that's receiving lay down and you can set aside a time. Okay, I can lay down between 7 and 7:30. That's the time that I want to get my session. So you're going to send them Reiki between 7 and 7:30. They're going to be laying down. You can have them play soft music. Okay, turn on some soft music, close your eyes, turn the lights down. You're going to be in a kind of a Zen space, in their own space. And then for you as a practitioner, what are you going to do to get yourself ready, right? You need to be able to have 30 minutes of time to send them Reiki. So the person can lay down. You're going to probably be sitting in a way that you're comfortable so that you can send them for those 30 minutes. You can also send Reiki like in the middle of the day. Like if we're going to practice this too. We'll figure out the schedules because it's got to work with your own individual schedules. But I've done a trade with somebody before and I've asked her to send it to me while I'm at work. Yeah, well, send me the 30 minutes of Reiki while I'm at work. So I'm going to keep working and doing my thing, but I'm also receiving Reiki during that time. And it just feels so nice. Like I'm working and then all of a sudden I just feel this like soothing flow of energy. I start to feel more calm. And so there's all different ways that we can practice Reiki. We can make it work for us. It just depends on what our goal is, what the intention is, how much time we have. But for the purposes of the training program, we're gonna work our way through practicing all the different ways. So that way you can speak to that and you'll have like a tool or like what is like a smorgasbord, or what is that? Like a plate of different options for being able to send your Reiki to others. Any thoughts or questions on this?
I had a question. You know how you mentioned that you can, like, somebody can send it to you while you're at work. Is it true that they can also send it to you through text message, or like, is that something else, or is that like a different type of energy? Because
Um,
my sister
well,
gets it from somebody through text, and I was like, how does that work?
well, when I do a text message, I'm mostly just communicating via text message. I'm not like sending through the text. Well, I could take that back too, but usually if I text, it's like I'm texting like, okay, I'm gonna start sending to you. Like, okay, get ready. And then I might be sensing or feeling things, and I might be texting them things that I'm sensing or feeling as I go through. But it's not like I'm sending Reiki through the text, although once we start embodying Reiki, everything that we do kind of gets infused with Reiki. So even when we're sending messages or emails to people, there's kind of that Reiki that comes through it. Um, I don't know what else to say about that. I don't usually send it through text. I don't know if Mary or Dave has ever done that before. But the only thing I do through text is just let the person know that I'm going to start the session. Yeah,
Okay, okay, okay.
I've never used text, no.
yeah, yeah. I only do it like that just as okay, I'm sending now, get ready. And then I might give them a little bit of feedback via text or something like that.
I like that idea though. Thank you.
I just didn't. I wasn't sure. I was like, I've
Yeah,
never heard of it, so that's why.
with
Say that again, Dave.
you sent Reiki light with it. When I opened it, I totally felt it. Like I got goosebumps and chills. It was nice.
Yeah.
So, it's not a lasting session. It's just a blast of Reiki.
Hmm. Yeah, I do that like when I send emails, it's like the intention that I want to send a little bit of Reiki with the message or with the email, or like even when I do like my email marketing or newsletters, I'll infuse that with Reiki so that whoever's reading it gets a little bit of Reiki when they're reading it and they just feel good. So I do it that way. Um, so just before we do a little practice for the rest of it, I wanted to talk just a little bit about after the session, what happens after the session, just things for you to think about. If you do a session and you get tired after the Reiki session, you're the practitioner and you're sending, are you tired after the session? If you are tired after the session, that means more than likely that you used a lot of your energy instead of using Reiki energy to help you. So just be mindful of that, because sometimes our ego gets involved. When our ego gets involved and we really want to do a good job, or we really want to, alleviate whatever, let's say we want to help somebody heal from anxiety. And it's like, I really want you to heal from anxiety right now in this session. And they've had anxiety for 20 years. It's not going to go away in one session. So, but if you're really excited and you're like, oh, I really want to help you with this, and then you're putting more of your energy into it, then you're going to feel tired because you're not trusting in the Reiki. You're putting your ego into it. So if you're feeling tired, it's a sign that you need to like trust in Reiki, let it flow, let the Reiki do the work. If you're letting Reiki do the work after a Reiki session, you're going to feel energized, you're going to feel good, you're going to feel like, okay, I can go for another hour. Right, Mary?
Yep. Usually like, oh, that feels good. I feel clean and energized too. Yeah. Usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you feel like you're really tuning into Reiki and you did everything that you know how to do correctly and you still feel tired after a session, then that's a sign for you to look a little bit more deeper inside of you, because something that the person that you were working on was working on is something that you might need to work on personally for yourself. And that's why you're feeling tired, because there's something in you connected to what the issue was that you're working on. And then it's like, okay, well, I need to do some more self-healing on that. And there's something there for me to learn about myself. Um, Similarly, what I was thinking about is, a lot of us that get into Reiki, we're empaths. I'm probably going to do a class pretty soon on this one, managing empathic communication. But just for you to think about, how do you manage empathic communication? Because the more you practice Reiki, and some of you are already doing this, you're sensitive, you're going to feel things when you're giving somebody Reiki. So how do you translate what you're feeling? How do you translate the messages that you're getting? Is the message for you? Is it for the person you're working on? Is it something else? Right? So we're not going to fully talk about this, but I just wanted to bring it up. How do you manage empathic communication? How do you translate the messages that you're receiving? What do your observations and sensations mean? Do you know what it means? Like, if I feel tingly hot fire in my hands, does that mean something? Sometimes when I put my hands on some specific area of somebody's body, I can feel like kind of like stabbing sensations, like something's poking me. What does that mean to me? So you kind of have to figure that out for yourself. What does that mean to you? And the more you practice, the more you'll kind of know, like, oh yeah, because I worked on this person and I felt prickly for this person. Maybe it means something similar or the same. For me, when I feel something prickly or like stabbing, for me, it usually means pain. Like the person is going through pain, or there's something for me to ask more questions about or pay more attention to. Or maybe I need to put a Reiki symbol on it, or maybe I need to do an extra prayer for that, something like that. So I ask questions when I'm working with people too. I ask questions rather than making statements and conclusions based on what I see or feel, especially at first, because we're going to feel a lot of different things, and we can say, I know that this is what it means because I said, or because I know. So kind of just keep it light, keep it tentative, keep it exploratory, keep it curious about what you're noting. Take notes, do a little bit of journal. Mary, can you share a little bit? Because you're very visual. You get a lot of visuals and sensations. So how do you?
Well, I think I think your word curious is great. And being able and trying to be, I try to be more objective of what and describe what I saw, and many times the person goes, oh yeah, that's blah blah blah. It means something to them. It may mean nothing. So, and I kind of learned, an example is that I saw around this one guy's elderly gentleman, and I saw all these purple like angels around him, surrounding him, and I thought that means they're there to, to take him, to the other side to transition. And then he didn't transition, so it was like, no, those were his angels, they were just all around him, right? So that kind of taught me, don't make any conclusions about what you're seeing, right? Go and because I didn't say anything to him about, whoa, I think, how are you feeling today? um
Oh,
you know,
no. I think you're gonna transition in the next 3 hours.
so yeah,
Oh,
is your no, um so I found more if I describe what I saw, but many times when I feel the pain or I'll feel a blockage, then I'll do the same thing with, well, what I do is I ask Reiki, okay, what does this mean? And do I send a little more here, or do I try to break it up, or do I try to send intention to break this up, or do I need to soothe it? And so during the session, couple of things, when those things happen, that's what I, similar to what Dr. Anna said. But afterwards, when I give feedback, I try to describe what I saw or felt and let them figure out what it means for them.
No, that's great. Yeah. So just keeping it open, keeping it curious, and then being aware of your own empathy and what you're feeling. If when I first started practicing, I would feel, if the person was feeling pain, I would feel pain, but in the opposite side of my body. So I was like a mirror for them. So just, you know, just explore. And again, I'm really excited about this experience because you're going to get to practice, give each other feedback, and then when we meet, then you can share what you were feeling, what you were sensing, or I wasn't sure what to do, or I just kept sending Reiki, and then so this all helps us to be better practitioners. Any other thoughts? We're going to do a little practice now. Any thoughts, questions, comments about what we talked about? Has this been helpful?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been very helpful. Thank you.
It helped with you know how you said like because I was like I guess I was just concerned about like how they said how people say oh there's like spirits around you and all that kind of like I guess I was kind of like worried about that like that was something that I was worried about like
Mm-hmm.
I thought that that was like bad like I don't know like I guess I coordinated it with bad but then now they explained it it makes sense
Yeah.
like not to fear it like if something like that happens it's like you just have to understand that they're all around you and
Mm-hmm.
not to fear it. You know, I guess that's what it was. Like I've always feared that. I don't know why. It's like it was like instilled in me just a little like to fear like something like not from this world. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, a lot of us are carrying religious trauma and, what we were taught as children about things to fear, like the kukui or the boogeyman or,
Yeah.
Hmm.
what's in the closet, like, oh, but, and something, and it ultimately everything, whether it's dark or light, everything wants to gravitate towards the light. So sometimes a lot of times our role is to support those spirits to move into the light. So it can feel a little bit nerve-wracking, a little bit of fearful, like, oh, what is that? Especially when we're new to all of this like spirit stuff. But once we kind of get to know, get more familiar, then we realize that those spirits are actually asking for help and they need support with moving into the light, because many times when people die, and if they're not ready to die, or if it's a tragic sudden death, then they don't realize that they actually died, and so they're kind of roaming a little bit lost and confused themselves. And so then um that's where you might see kind of lost spirits, and they don't know where to go, and so they need help transitioning. And so that's what we can do as Reiki practitioners, that we can help those spirits move into the light so that they can have peace, because they're not in peace. They're not in, they're in turmoil, they're in distress, they don't know where they are. And they're creating havoc in that distress that they're experiencing. This is how we can
Hmm.
also get like spirit attachments or entity attachments in our body. I think I shared a story, not in here, but one time a couple of years ago when one of my aunts passed away. I didn't go to the funeral, but my brother went to the funeral, and I saw him, like, I think that day or the next day, and I looked at him and I just said, are you okay? Like, something just seemed off about him. He's like, yeah. He's like, I don't know, ever since yesterday I feel this pain on my back. And I was like, and I looked at him and I was like, oh, you have a spirit attachment. Like, so at the funeral, because there's a lot of spirits at places, funerals and cemeteries, a spirit had a hitchhiked on his back because he already has issues on his back. So like our places of vulnerability too can be like little breaks in our energy field, and spirits can attach to those spaces. So if we walk into a hospital, we walk into a cemetery or funeral grounds, there's spirits that are roaming around, and they'll see our little weakness points, they'll see our light, and they'll use us to hitchhike to get a little bit of light. So then that creates more pain in our body. It creates havoc in our lives. It's uncomfortable for us because it's not part of who we are, right? So in that case, for my brother, what I did, because I saw that he had an attachment, I just did some Reiki with him. I did a spirit release with him. And then after I did that spirit release, the pain went away. So it's
Well, when you do that, is that like your intention is like a spirit release? Like when you do it, you just say my intention is to release this.
Well, I'm not gonna go into how I did it, but sometimes it's that easy, sometimes it's not. But
Oh,
we'll get into it. Sometimes it just happens automatically. Like I think I shared with some of you a session that I did with my mom, like when I first started doing Reiki. And I didn't know about spirit release or anything like that. And I was just had my hands on her eyes. I wasn't thinking about spirits, but I saw her shirt lift up from her belly and I heard a sound. And I saw a spirit leave from her body. So I wasn't intending it, it just happened naturally. So sometimes it just happens naturally without us intending it. Sometimes, like with my brother, I set the intention that that's what I was going to do, and that's what I did. Sometimes those spirits don't want to leave. Sometimes we have contracts with them. So it gets, it gets deep with all of that stuff.
That's why it's important too to ground before and after your session so that you don't bring anything or you don't take anything, right?
Mhm. Absolutely. Yep. And sometimes it still can happen. I mean, I've had sessions where something kind of still caught onto me and then I have to clear. So that's why clearing our space, like Dave was saying, clearing ourselves, making sure that we're not bringing something home, but something extra, an extra little package that we were not expecting. So,
The beginning of a session, like if I'm when I'm centering and clearing, and I'll envision kind of like I put my little white hazmat suit on, or as a layer, or I'll put a shield of Reiki between me and the person, so that and ask Reiki to keep their stuff on their side and my stuff on my side. So I'll do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's do a little bit of clearing. Talking about clearing, we have just 30 minutes left. So I was thinking that we could break up into little groups and just do a little clearing with each other. So we will do that. And we're just going to do a simple prayer right now to help us connect with Reiki. And it's raining. I don't know if you can hear it. It's like coming down really hard over my head right now. So we're just gonna ask this rain too to help us clear. And I know Dave, you're driving, so keep your hands on the wheel and we'll just intend for you to clear as we do this. So bring your hands to heart center, taking a few breaths, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose. And our intention is to clear our vessel, and we're gonna clear each other too, but we're gonna clear our vessel. And in the next few breaths, imagine a cord coming down from your root chakra. It's a golden cord, and it's coming all the way down to the center of the earth. You're feeling that grounding, anchoring down to Mother Earth. And then from the top of your head, the top of your crown, imagine a beam of light, a golden cord connecting up into the highest heaven, all the way up to reach Reiki energy, source energy. And over the next few breaths, just let that reach all the way up into the heavens where Reiki lives. Over the next few breaths, bring that energy back down through your crown. And imagine that beautiful, brilliant light clearing every one of your chakras, all 13 chakras, 7 chakras, the crown, the third eye, the throat, the heart, solar plexus, sacral, root, all the way down to the feet. And then from the feet to the earth. And imagining that cord that's connecting to the earth, Just clearing out any energy that doesn't serve you, and then bring back energy from the earth back up into your body. So we're just going to circulate this energy back and forth from the earth to the heavens, from the heavens to the earth, through our body, with the intention to clear. And we're going to ask Reiki to guide us. So if you even coming up with your own little prayer, asking Reiki to guide you, to bring you light, to clear you. This beautiful rain that's coming down right now that we so need. Let it come in and clear your being, your body, mind, soul, spirit. And then take a moment here to bring awareness to your heart. And from your heart, imagine this beautiful green energy resonating out from your heart into your cells, into your chakras, into your organs, all throughout your body. And let this green heart energy keep growing and expanding, moving through those cords at the top of the head, through the root into the earth. And we're going to send love from our heart up into the heavens, back up to Reiki, to the earth. So we're giving love, we're asking for clearing, we're asking for guidance from Reiki. And just feel Reiki flowing through your hands. Just see yourself completely inside of a Reiki bubble, into this Reiki golden bubble infused with green heart love energy. And just let this energy clear, clear, clear. So all around the back. So if you're carrying any weight on your back, on your shoulders, on your spine, let that energy clear you from Reiki. Well, practice the precepts. Just for today, I let go of anger. So I'll breathe in through the nose, out through the nose. Just for today, I let go of worry. I hold compassion for myself and for others. I respect my teachers, my relatives, my friends, my ancestors, my children, my parents, my siblings. And I practice this daily. So take your tongue to the roof of your mouth. Just really asking Reiki to clear you. And if you have any intentions that you're working on right now, set those intentions. And just what we're doing here is we're asking Reiki to clear, and then we're asking Reiki to guide us and start to build a relationship with Reiki or deepen your relationship with Reiki. Ask Reiki to show you what it is that you need. If you're going through a blockage, or if you have fear coming up, you're worried about something, ask Reiki to help you with that, to help you release, unblock those energies. If you have any spirit attachments, anything that's not serving you, any areas in your body that are being affected, we're going to ask Reiki to clear it right now. Completely and fully, anything that's not serving you. Remembering that you are the master of your energy field. And you choose what goes into your body. So my mantra is I only receive and integrate energy that serves my highest and best good. And I'm asking Reiki to support me in that. So we'll take a few more breaths, just letting all of that happen. So we're gonna bring our hand, one hand to our heart, one hand to our belly. Just a few minutes of soft Reiki here. And then we're gonna help each other out with some cleaning. Just let that Reiki that we just called in through our hands. Just bring that love to our heart. Giving us space to release any blockages that we have about our own self practice, our own self healing, letting all those worries fade away. Letting Reiki transform our fears into courage, to heart medicine, to love, joy, abundance. So energy can be transformed. It can't be, can't really be deleted. It can only be transformed. So we can invite Reiki to support our path, whatever it is our goals are. If it's practicing more Reiki on ourselves, if it's having more people to practice with, if it's sharing with more people, if maybe it's finding our voice, our ability to express what Reiki means to us, our ability to express ourselves, what we want, what we desire, how we want our lives to be, what we choose to have in our lives, and what we choose to let go of. So whatever it is that you're needing support with, have that private, personal conversation with Reiki, with between you. It's between you and your Reiki energy. So you might be able to see that warmth expanding and maybe colors expanding. Let that energy keep flowing, keep expanding. And trust the Reiki goes where it needs to go. And there's always an internal component and there's an external component. So there's things inside of us and there's things outside of us. There might be internal blocks that we have, or there might be external blocks in our environment. So we're going to ask Reiki to support us with all of that. Making the way, making a clear path for our spiritual growth, our spiritual journey, our expansion with Reiki. You're all here because you want to keep learning and growing with Reiki. So sometimes we have to get ourselves out of the way. A lot of times we have to get ourselves out of the way. So just see yourself moving out of the way and allow Reiki to come down from the heavens and make a pathway for your healing, for your growth, for your journey. And then bring your hands, rub them together. And then one by one, and you can just let that go. You can maybe shake your hands next to you or above you, just shake all that out. So we're going to try to think about how to do this here. I think we're just going to go one by one and we'll just kind of be witness to each other. So maybe I'll show you first. So we're going to clear each other. So let me start with Liliana. I'm going to start with you. I'm going to clear you first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hands. I've already been practicing Reiki. We called in the Reiki. We did a little bit of self-Reiki. So I know my hands are activated with Reiki. If you still want to do a little more activation, you can also take your thumbs and rub the bottom of your hand there. Like that activates energy flow in your hands too. So I'm going to I have Liliana in the picture in my mind here, and I'm going to start at the top of her head. I'm going to take my hands and I'm just going to do like a sweeping motion starting at the top of the head. Oh, well, before we do that, so I don't skip steps, is I'm going to ask Reiki to guide my hands to help Liliana release any energies that are not serving her. So in alignment with her highest and best good, I'm going to ask Reiki to guide my hands to help her release any energies that are not serving her. Okay, so I'll take my hands starting at the top of her head, just doing a sweeping motion. So going down, and you'll feel, well, I feel like a little bit at the shoulders there. So feeling like this is my interpretation, just carrying some weight on your shoulders there. We're going to sweep that away a little bit. Just sweeping, clearing, moving down the arms, down the sides of the body. A little bit of energy release needed at the hips. So I can feel, so when we do this, you might feel a little bit of like maybe heaviness or kind of like some points where your hands are like, oh, I don't want to move my hands from that spot yet. And then once you feel that breaking, then keep going down. So now I'm down the legs, all the way down to the feet, clearing, clearing, clearing. So I start off side to side, and then I'm gonna see from front to back. So now I'm gonna do the front, starting at the head again, front to back, still Liliana. Okay, so now I'm like at the throat, the heart, and the back, the organs, the belly, the low back, moving down the hips, all the way down to the feet. And then I'll just rub my hands together and just shake that off. Okay. How was that? Did you feel that? Oh, you're on mute.
Yes, I did. I
Okay.
did. Thank you.
Okay, so now Liliana, you're going to do the same for Citlali. So you're gonna clear Citlali now. Does that make sense how to do it?
Yeah. So
Okay.
you said you start at the top right of her head and then go all the way
Yeah.
down.
So you're gonna go from like shoulder to shoulder first, and then you're gonna go front to back. Okay. And
Okay.
you're gonna start at the head and go all the way down to the feet.
Okay.
So when you're ready, start to make your sweeping motion with your hands.
Oh, I didn't. Okay. So when you sweep, you go. I'm sorry. I thought. So how
Yeah.
do you do it? You sweep, huh? Oh, sweeping. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, when you start. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
So that because you'll feel her energy. So you'll do from like front, shoulder, shoulder, and then
And then go. Okay.
front to back. And then once you're done, just rub your hands together and just shake it off. And just breathe. Perfect.
Okay.
How did that
All right.
feel? See, Laline, did you feel that? Oh,
Yes, I felt release.
okay, good.
Thank you.
Now, see, Lali, you're gonna clear Mary.
Okay.
Did you do the front? The
Yeah,
front?
I'm doing the front right now, the front and the back.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay. Mary, are you there? Did you feel that?
I did feel that. So, yeah, I did. Thank you very much. Yeah, I felt it.
Thank you.
Nice, gentle, like flow all the way down my body, including my arms. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I did the arms. Thank you.
And then Mary, I was gonna have you do Dave, but maybe you can do me, and then we'll all do Dave since he's at work.
Oh, okay, that sounds good. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Get both you and your dog.
Yeah, she was attacking me while you were doing that. Okay, and let's see who should we all do Dave or should one person want to try again with Dave? Who wants to pray or should we all just okay, go see Lali. You do
Okay, I'll try. Okay.
beautiful. I felt that one.
I got goosebumps, and I felt like I was in a submarine or something, and the pressure was just, yeah, it was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Dave, you're driving, so I'm not gonna have you clear anybody. But when you do your practice, you can do this when you're not driving.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We just have 2 minutes left. I just want to thank you for being here. And
One more thing.
yes,
Sorry, you sent Reiki to Wi-Fi and to help stay connected.
yes.
It stayed connected the whole time. Yesterday, I wasn't able to get Wi-Fi over here. Thank you.
Ah, yes. We see how Reiki works.
Yay.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for being here. I know we all have a lot of commitments and I really appreciate your presence and because we make it our energies make it what it is. Without us there, it's different. If anybody has, we just have maybe like a minute if anybody has any closing thought or just any last question.
I just think this is great to have a forum to be able to share and ask questions and experiences and yeah, and learn. I learn so much every time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to share also that I'm grateful for this group and to be able to connect with people and be able to practice, which is really exciting. And that's definitely something that I'm looking forward to. Like the way. Thank you.
Yay. Awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate you and everybody here.
Thank you.
Thank
Dave.
you.
Well, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And if you have any other questions, email me and I'll send the recording maybe later on today or tomorrow.
Perfect. Thank you.
all.
You guys have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye bye.
Mm.
Thank you. Bye.